Okay, hello everyone. I would like first of all to thank the organizers of this great conference, great event. Today I'm here to talk to you about vocational rehabilitation and employment for people with Down syndrome. My presentation is divided into two parts. The first one is about vocational rehabilitation. And here actually I will start with facts about people with disabilities, especially or specifically people with Down syndrome. So my talk is divided, for example, vocational rehabilitation definition, history, vocational rehabilitation services, and I'm going to talk about the employment of people with Down syndrome, the barriers of employment and employment models, and finally I'm going to talk about the most common myths around people with Down syndrome. Regarding the facts here, according to World Health Organization, people with disabilities are the world's largest minority group, and they constitute of an estimated more than a billion people, including approximately 80% of working age. Each year, approximately 3,000 to 5,000 children are born with Down syndrome. And not only are there a huge number of people with disabilities, but they also are often unemployed or under-unemployed. And if any of them had a job opportunity, then it was to be for a part-time job with a low salary. People with Down syndrome can work, but often have jobs that underutilize their skills. Also, we're keeping talk about the facts. In the world of work, people with disabilities experience common patterns of discrimination, such as prejudice about their productivity and lack of access to the workplace environment. From a gender perspective, men with disabilities are almost twice as likely to have jobs than women with disability. This refers to double discriminations against women with disability, like she is woman or she is a girl and has a disability. Anyway, after these facts, there's a need for knowing more information, defining vocational rehabilitation programs. So let's move to know more about vocational rehabilitation. Actually, what is VR program? VR program refers to any programs that seek to restore disabled people to their optimal physical, mental, social, vocational, and economic ability. And in a legal sense, VR is a workers' compensation benefit, which involves programs designed to help workers who have become physically or mentally disabled and who can no longer hold the same jobs they had prior to their disability. Looking for the history of the vocational rehabilitation, the history of VR starts after the First World War that brought a large number of newly disabled people due to their wants, which resulted in take effective measures by governments such as mandatory employment and planning for vocational training. Regarding as well for the history, the most important event is the adoption of the first vocational rehabilitation legislation in the USA in 1919 for creating new employment opportunities for disabled veterans, a person who served in the active military. The philosophy and goals of vocational rehabilitation, it's very essential, it's very important, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to ignore the VR program, as it is a basic philosophy focusing on people with Down syndrome, people with disabilities as humans who deserve to live with dignity in their communities. And the primary purpose of the VR is to transfer people with disabilities from the idea of depending on others to the need to depend on him or herself. As well, additionally, the major goal of VR is to help people with disability regain independence through employment and integration into society. Here, as you can see in this slide, vocational rehabilitation programs are designed to assist people with disabilities to prepare for and engage in gainful employment. They help them to integrate into society, to contribute to changes their views of the attitudes or bad attitudes of society toward people with Down syndrome. And this can be done by providing appropriate vocational rehabilitation services that offer decent work to them. And essentially, VR services include vocational assessment, pre-vocational services, vocational guidance, vocational training, job placement, and follow-up. Here I'm going to talk about these services and look to them briefly. So I will start by pre-vocational services, and this actually the period in which the disabled are provided with the skills to carry out vocational training consistent with their abilities and tendencies. Furthermore, this services starts between the ages of 12 to 16 years until the beginning of the vocational training services. These skills include understanding and accepting work times, attention to tasks, and etc. Regarding the vocational assessment, the process of determining an individual's interests, abilities, aptitudes, and the skills to identify vocational strengths, need, and career potential for making recommendations for program or vocational rehabilitation program plan. So these process or these services, vocational assessment, the process of assessing the vocational capacities of persons together with job requirements and the comparisons and matching of these assessments with a view to vocational integration or reintegration. As well, here I'm going to talk about the vocational guidance. The vocational guidance, the process of helping people with disability to solve programs of choice of a profession, taking into account the characteristics of people with Down syndrome regarding their employment opportunities, regarding their training. As well, here, vocational rehabilitation counselors would then serve the role of providing counseling and guidance services. So this means like assistance given to an individual with Down syndrome in solving problems related to occupational choice and vocational training as a service is the most important services provided for disabled people, and training in skills and teaching of knowledge related to a specific trade, occupation, or vocation in which the student or employee wishes to participate, and it focuses more on practical subjects than theory. As well here that as a part of the vocational rehabilitation services, we have job placement and follow-up. Job placement actually a service that educational institutions, employment agencies, and recruiters offer to help individuals to find work. I mean that they are already, we have people with Down syndrome, they are have been trained, or maybe they do not need a train, so we can offer for them job placement or to find work for them. And job placement assistance is the most important predictor of long-term employment for individuals with Down syndrome. Regarding the follow-up services, and here we talking about the tracking, follow-up the performance of people with Down syndrome in labor market from time to time to make sure the security and stability in their employment. As you can see in this slide, the employment of people with Down syndrome, why do we work? Why do we work? Actually, work can be considered one of the most important activities in people's life. And here, and for people with disabilities, employment allows them to become financially independent, foster self-esteem, establish social interaction skills and opportunities. As well, is particularly important because having a disability often means being socially isolated, and work is one opportunity to reduce this. So as a summary, work also meets a number of basic human needs, help to sustain mental health and well-being. As you already know, that the employment is very important for all of us, but maybe more for people with Down syndrome and with disabilities. Here, the barriers to employment of people with Down syndrome. There are many barriers faced by people with Down syndrome when seeking employment, and these may include lack of policy support, negative attitudes, accessibility barriers in built environments. This include, for example, transports, products, and services, and insufficient disability support, maybe the lack of awareness and confidence on how to include people with disability in the workplace. Let's now to see the employment models. So globally, the rights of people with disabilities to employment become an important issue through the transition from charity model to human rights model, such as United Nations conventions and European conventions on human rights. And over time, a set of strategies have been provided for people with disabilities, for people with Down syndrome, to secure employment. And to reach to a better understanding of employment options for them, various employment strategies should be discussed as the following. So the main strategies include a sheltered workshop, supported employment, and competitive employment. And now let's to look at these models briefly. Regarding the sheltered workshops serve as a welfare services for adults with disabilities to provide guidance, care, and employment under special conditions. Competitive employment is just that, competitive, and it's often a goal that can be reached with limited support. So in the service world, it may have a different name, such as employment supports or job coaching, an individual called a job coach, employment specialist, or something similar, accompanies that person to work for several hours, weeks, months, or until person is successful independently in the work in the workplace. Regarding the supported employment is similar to competitive employment in that it occurs in the community, real work locations, and the major differences is that the individual requires ongoing support to successful. Here I'm going to talk about the improving employment opportunities for people with Down syndrome, and here actually we have many measures and some measures here to improve their employment. The first one is a quota system. A quota system means requires public and private sectors to have a workforce that include a certain minimum percentage between 2%, such as applied in Spain, and 7% such as applied in Italy, of the workforce of disabled people. And the second relies on anti-discrimination laws to encourage equality in employers' recruitment choices. And for examples, resolution number 43 of 2018 that have been enacted in United Arab Emirates to support the rights of people of determination. Here the common word like or people with disabilities, people with special needs in the field of employment by enabling access to opportunities in their labor market. As well, to improve employment opportunities for people with Down syndrome, we need to setting clear goals and targets, ensuring better access to education and training for people with Down syndrome, and to ensuring better access to job creations. And maybe the most important things like raising employers' awareness and demonstrating the potential of disabled people through guided work experience, changing attitudes to or negative expectations and assumptions adopted by members of society and employers toward the employment or their employment. Here as well, like we have three common myths, often the biggest barrier for people with disability who are trying to find work are the assumptions made by employers about what they believe people with disability can and cannot do. We want to post three of the common misconceptions employers may have on employing someone with disability and reveal the true business benefits. Anyway, the myth number one is people with disability are not able to do work, can only do simple jobs. This is simply not the case. There are already many people with disability employed in the workforce. Myth number two, employing someone with disability costs too much, especially with the workplace modification. And this one of the most common myths we hear and most not require any workplace modification. Employers with disability have a higher turnover and absenteeism rate. And the fact studies have shown that employees with disabilities are not absent any more than other employees. As a conclusion here, people with Down syndrome, they have right to be employed in the community. They want to work for the same reasons as everyone. They are capable, qualified, and they are motivated. And thank you for listening. It was a pleasure to being here today.